YouTubers, it's Newman14 here. Thank you for clicking or tapping on this video. This is part 2 of how I made a bushcraft sheath for this knife. So keep on watching, lots of sheath making ahead. Welcome back. We jump right into gluing the welt. Okay, give it a good push. Push down there. This glue is, once it dries, because it's a contact type glue, no need to clamp it. Once it is on there, it is on there. And I've had to pull sheaths apart, and it pulled the leather apart before it pulled, and before the glue broke. So, okay, now this one here, put on the fire steel loop. Make sure I get it right in there good, as good as possible. Okay. Okay. Looking pretty good there. And then my final little piece here. Slap this little piece on and we are good. Good to go. Well, the moment of truth has come to fold over this sheath and glue it all together. The barge cement is dry on all the two sides there, and so this is I guess another point. This is a point in sheath making where I'm always a little nervous, just really hoping everything lines up just right. And I put rubber gloves on this time because as I was putting the cap on, I accidentally squeezed it too hard, got glue all over. So want to make sure I don't get any glue on the sheath, if at all possible, once it is dyed. And once there's glue on there, it makes it very difficult to get off. And so, okay, well, I'll just begin to squeeze this together and try to line up all the edges there as best as I can. Fire steel loop, and oh yeah, it's going to be good. Going to be good. Okay, well this time I'm going to get my stitching wheel, sometimes called an overstitch wheel, and then I'm going to just mark out the stitching, and then I'll begin punching the holes through, and then start the stitching. So, looking pretty good. Okay, well, time to put the stitching holes through here. Typically what I use is just this needle here and this, I guess a hobby drill press type of thing to just punch the holes through. But since this leather is so thick here, I'm going to use a small drill bit. Okay, now I'm just going to put a stitch groove all along these holes here that I just drilled, and then I'll go along a little bit later and put some dye in the holes there, or the dye along the stitches that I have just grooved here. I got the groove all done, so now just adding the dye. Well, the time has come now to do the stitching, so it's always an exciting part of a sheath project, and I always look forward to getting that stitching done. I don't mind stitching too much. It does take a lot of time, but it sure is good to see how it all looks when the stitching is done. Now it's kind of a mess here on the workbench, so I'm going to take it out of the shop and sit down somewhere where I can spread the needles out, spread the thread out, and have a little bit more space. So, alright, well, just getting ready to use the belt sander here to smooth off the edges, and so I'm going to get right to that. Try to get this sheath done here soon. Okay, the sanding is done, and so now I'm just gonna bevel the edges here. Okay, I have the edge all sanded down. Now comes a coat of black dye just to coat the edge, and obviously I have to be very careful. I do not want to get any of the black dye onto the stitching or onto the edge there, so just a very, very steady motion there. I just have the fire steel loop masked off there, so just so I can just make sure I get a good cover right along that edge there with the black dye. And now I come to the second to last step before this sheath is finished. Got the black dye on there, it's all dry, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid here, just dampen it briefly. Get just a bit of soap. This is just regular old Walmart hand soap. Stick it on there. And I'm going to use my caribou antler piece here to burnish it. And just really rub it. Get my edges there as best as I can. Alright. You can see that really makes a nice looking edge there. Alright. And now the final step for this sheath is I will apply some 100% pure neat's foot oil. And I just don't really have any fancy way to do that. I just stick my finger in and put it on. Rubbing it in, and this just gives it a nice water resistant coating, and gives it just a good, makes the leather look really good. So I always apply some of this and let it soak in and let it dry, and it makes it look really good.